Welcome, fellow freaks, geeks, and nostalgic peeps, to my channel, Slime and Slashers, where, we talk about everything from 80s and 90s nostalgia to horror movies and books and beyond. But today's video, it is a book-themed video. Welcome, 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 one and all, to my freaking carnival of delightful reads. So essentially this is going to be a video where I show every single carnival, amusement park, circus, fair, and clown themed book that I own. I will explain more, but let's go to the short intro. When we come back, we are going to get spooky and we are going to head to the carnival. Welcome back, guys! I am so hyped to talk about all of these books because, I gotta say, one of my very favorite, I guess you can call it, tropes, is a carnival setting. It's just one of my favorite things ever. Also, a book that features a creepy clown, or clowns in general, but specifically carnival clowns. I have grouped in some amusement park reads in here as well. We are going to go over books that I have read and have not read. I am literally going to show you every single book I own. Why I decided this would be a perfect time to do this is actually, I am about to host a Patreon-only readathon that I've been doing for the last couple of years. And it is carnival and clown themed. There are prompts, so you don't have to read those types of books, but I will be digging in to those types of books. And I'm so excited. It's called the Carnival because I call all my Patreon members Kelsey Corns. It will be happening from September 1st through September 8th. So if you are someone who loves carnival and clown reads, or just wants to join in on a week-long readathon that could be fun and helps to fill the void while you're waiting for my readathon, watchathon, Halloweenathon to start, or you're just waiting for the spooky vibes for Halloween in general to kick in, this might be great for you. I will link my Patreon down below if it sounds intriguing to you at all. Again, it's running from September 1st through September 8th on my Patreon. Lots of sprints will be happening, and it'll be so much fun. It's also a watchathon if people want to use the prompts to watch or just decide to watch clown and carnival themed movies, that's okay too. Another great thing about carnival books, in my opinion, is a lot of times they are perfect fall books. To me, a carnival setting screams fall. I think mostly this is because of Something Wicked This Way Comes, but also because my school fair growing up was always in fall time as well. So that kind of reminds me of a carnival, but it's a fair. Very similar things in my opinion, but that always just screams fall to me. And if you're looking for the most fall book, but has a very heavy carnival setting, I have to highly, highly recommend Something Wicked This Way Comes. I do own it. I cannot find my copy, but it is one of my favorite reads ever. The language is a little dense and poetic at times, so I will say, if you're someone who's worried about Ray Bradbury's writing style, that it's just too flowery and too lyrical for you, I would check out the audiobook. That's how I read it. I used the audio and I also physically read along as I listened. It was fantastic. Probably my favorite carnival-themed book of all time. I love it. There's another book I'm going to talk about in a second that I have read that's a close second, but I highly recommend that one. Alright, the first stack we're going to go over are books that I have read and own, and these are carnival-themed books, so books with a carnival setting. First up, we've got, I did not read the whole book. I did read part of the book. I am going to continue one day. I just didn't get a chance to finish, and I started this last September, so it kind of got dropped by the wayside, sadly. I got 112 pages in. I was definitely feeling the carnival vibes. This is Twilight Eyes by Dean Koontz. This is a really beat up copy, and it's not all set in the carnival from what I've heard, but I think if you're looking for a little dose of a carnival setting plus some coming of age vibes, this could work for you, and I'm excited to one day get back into this. Probably not this year, but we'll see. Next up, a book that has a little bit of a carnival scene in it. It's not the majority of the setting of the book, so be aware. This is Gila by Les Simmons, and frickin' my best friend Andrew from It Came From the Page sent me his copy. Even though this is like his favorite book cover, he sent it to me because he knows how much I love carnivals and fairs, and if you look, there is a carnival scene here, and the monster does attack during a carnival. So that's pretty cool. I gave this about a 3.5 or 4 star when I read it. Here we have a book I read a couple of years ago for, again, my Carnival readathon. And before I had a Patreon, I still did a month of Carnival reading, but it was kind of in February, which I don't think worked. I think it works way better in the fall because, again, Carnival screams fall to me, and if it doesn't for you, that's okay. I know a lot of people may associate with a Carnival with summer, but I specifically associate it with fall, just personally. So I save these reads for this time of year for the last couple of years, and it's been working out wonderful for me. This is more of a fantasy, old school classic kind of carnival setting book, and it is very strange. I gotta say, I don't remember too much about this, but I do remember overall enjoying it. There were some slow parts. It was unique, though, so if you're looking for something a little bit different and you happen to come across this in the wild, pick it up because, one, the cover's incredible. Look at this. Fantastic. Sadly, there's like a written 100 here, and I don't know why. But yeah, look at this lizard man. I'm buff. Anyway, this was a lot of fun. I think I gave it a 4 stars, maybe 3.5. Here we've got an old school horror book by Ruby Jean Jensen, and this cover is fantastic, but to me, it doesn't scream carnival. However, the book does take place at a traveling carnival, and this is House of Illusions. I love this book in terms of the setting. The setting was so well done, you could almost smell the popcorn like you were there at the carnival. The food descriptions and the smells especially, I just think were really, really strong. There were some really creepy, great parts too with a House of Illusions within the carnival, you know, a House of Mirrors. There was some really cool stuff with that. And it's about these 2 little kids who go to stay with their dad who works for the traveling carnival, and there's this creepy clown stuff that goes on. I will say sometimes the story dragged a little bit, but overall, I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a fantastic Ruby Jean Jensen read. It's probably one of my top 2 favorite Ruby Jean Jensens, and I've read like 4 or 5 books by her so far, so this is in the top 2. Highly recommend if you just like a well-done, well-crafted carnival setting, of course. Here we've got a middle grade book, The Ride of Your Life. This is a creepover book, so that's a series of books that's kind of like a modern Goosebumps knockoff, and this was a lot of fun. Nothing groundbreaking, but it's cute if you want a just quick little spooky read. It will do the trick for you. Here we've got one of my favorite books of all time, and this one's extra perfect for this time of year because the book takes place at the end of summer, beginning of school year kind of thing, but they go to a carnival in this book, a group of girls, they go to a carnival, and it's an abandoned Halloween-themed carnival. So yes, you've got a carnival, you do have the end of summer, which is approaching fall. I think this is so fantastic. It's a slasher book, and it's personally my favorite slasher book of all time because I love the characters. I think they're relatable. I think that more than the book being about the mystery of who's the killer, who's the one slashing people, I think this book is about character development and great creative kills. So if you're someone who likes that and doesn't mind a slow burn where you actually get to know these characters, I think you could enjoy this. I think it's very different from your typical book slasher because they're not throwaway characters that you're following. They're characters that you actually come to care about. And I think that makes this book very, very special. And I will forever recommend it. I do still have to get a copy of the second book, which is out now, Tastes Like Candy 2. I'm hoping to read that this September. So that's a little sneak peek into my September TBR. Next up, definitely in my top 5 carnival-themed books, probably in my top 2. This is Geek Love by Katherine Dunn. This is a very literary story. I wouldn't even call it a pure horror book. I just think this is an interesting literary fiction type of read. You're following this couple, and they end up having a family. They decide when they are about to try to start a family that they're not going to go about this the normal way. They're literally going to do everything they can, like take drugs and use bleach and all kinds of crazy things to ensure that they actually give birth to, quote, freaks, so that they can ensure the longevity of their carnival that they are running together, which is disturbing to say the least, but it gets even more disturbing from there because the entire family is so effed up mentally. Like, some of the things in this book are just crazy, and there's also a lot of emotion in the story as well. Our little main character, her name is Ollie. She is a little dwarf in the story. She's described as, and this is not my words, it's the book's words, an albino dwarf, and she is so lovable, and I actually really rooted for her the entire book, because she always felt kind of at odds with her family and was never truly accepted, but she always wanted to belong. So we're reading from her point of view, and we're hearing her memories about being with the carnival with her brothers and sisters and her mom and dad, and we're also kind of following her in the modern day. Highly recommend, but I don't think every single person would love it. It just really worked very, very, very well for me. It is weird, and it is kind of off-putting at times, but I just think it's a very thought-provoking read, fascinating read, a great read to talk about with others. It would be a great book club read. Quickly before I move on, and I'm going to go a little faster when we start talking about books I have not read, but I want to find an amazing edition of this one day. I know there are other editions that I've seen online. This is not my favorite. It's just like an orange cover. I want one that really kind of screams Carnival more than this one does. So although you can see this is the copy I read because look at all the tabs, but I really would like to get a different copy, and I'm excited one day to reread this because I read this physically, and I think it'd be fun maybe one day to reread it with audio because it probably would read even more lyrical than when I read it with my eyeballs. But I love this book so much. Definitely in my top 2 favorite Carnival reads. Just behind, or maybe in front of, I don't know, depending on the day, Something Wicked maybe first, or Geek Love maybe first in terms of my favorite Carnival reads. This one would also be in definitely the top 3, so it's very hard to choose, but I think my top 3, Something Wicked, Geek Love, Tastes Like Candy, love all the Carnival settings, so very well done, utilizes the settings so well in the story too, all the different authors. So, there you have it, all the Carnival books I have read. We're going to switch gears and talk about clown books now. Alright, I have read a lot of clown books. 2 of these books are the same book, though. Whoa, this is wonderful. Shit. Take 2! Alright, here's the clown books I have read. 2 of these books are the same book, though. There's different editions of the same book. So, let's get into this. A book I read last year. It took me a long time. It took me all month of September. It is a chunker. This actually was sold in the UK under the name Adventureland. This is The Eyes of the Beast. It's hard to talk about this book because there were parts that dragged, but there were parts that were bonkers, crazy, wild, just amazing, fun. This does have some fantasy elements. It has some thriller elements as well, but definitely has some horror-leaning elements. My favorite part of the book, which has nothing to do with anything, and it doesn't have anything to do with the carnival setting, is this dude freaking gets attacked by giant moths, and it's like this other kind of sideways world that he's stuck in, and he gets attacked by these moths, and they bite his peen up, and it's incredible. Then he gets this amulet, and then this mermaid's like,
"You give me your amulet and I'll freaking heal your dick."
I cannot find that part in the book, because I was like, I don't think she
definitely doesn't say it exactly that way, but I don't even think she says, "I'll heal your peen," or whatever.
But I know that he gets all healed from the bites with this mermaid at this one point. But anyway, that's my favorite part of the book. However, it is worth reading. Just know that there's this really long-winded part about one of the characters designing a video game, and he wants the dimensions in the video game to match the dimensions of the carnival. So he wants to go back to the carnival multiple times to measure the dimensions to make sure that he goes back and programs the game correctly to try to figure out how to break into the carnival and what's going on. That part, too long-winded. Other parts, though, really stuck out, really left a mark on me. So again, I've got torn feelings about this book, but overall, very glad I read it. I think I wound up giving it a 4. A lot of fun, though. And wonderful clown in the book. Not so much a clown in the story. It's more about a carnival, but the carnival kind of takes a back seat to, like, all these crazy things that transpire. So just be warned about that, too, that, you know, what you see on the cover is not really completely what you get the entire time. But there is a traveling carnival, and that is a big part of the story. Another book with a clown on the cover. However, there is no clown in the story, and also this is one of the worst books I've ever read. If you're a longtime viewer of mine, I'm doing it again. I'm going to be bashing William W. Johnstone. Apologize to anyone who may be a fan of him who is watching. I have liked some of Johnstone's books, really just one, and then some other ridiculous scenes from some of his other books. But anyway, this one was definitely the worst book I've read by him. Really no redeeming qualities, no fun. It's really just about the satanic cult in this small town, and there is absolutely nothing about a clown in the story. So, wonderful cover. Definitely clown-themed cover, but not clown-themed book. So steer clear if you're actually looking for clowns, and you see this book and you own this book and you think, yeah, this will be perfect. if I want to read a clown book. No. Trust me, I will save you pain. I will save you torture. Don't read it. But I would still advise owning it, because, I mean, look at this freaking cover. I mean, incredible, right? Alright, here we go. 2 different editions of Stephen King's It. This is my favorite edition because we've got, of course, the fabulous Tim Curry, who played Pennywise on the made-for-TV movie version of It. I love this edition so much. I can't say it enough. It is fabulous. I did not read this edition. I just bought it after I read it, just to have it, just to display it, because it's that good. I have read It, and this is the edition... This is the edition that I did read. As you can see, I tabbed quite a lot. I love this book. It was not perfect, though. I think I wound up giving it a 4.5. I might have given it a 5, like rounded it up to a 5, but I know everyone talks about that one controversial scene, but I gotta say, Grady Hendrix wrote an article when he reread this book, and he analyzed that scene and talked about why he even thought King included it, and I thought that gave me a whole different perspective about that scene, and honestly, that scene really doesn't bother me. Because, I mean, yeah, it's kids, but the way Grady Hendrix analyzes it, you just gotta go read that. I will link that article below. Hopefully I can find it to link it, but if you're worried about that scene, I still say check this book out anyway. However, I think this is a better summertime read than a fall time read. Also, it's a coming-of-age tale, and I love those. I love coming-of-age so much. It's pretty much Carnival books and coming-of-age books. Those are my 2 favorite kind of books, essentially. So this one, wonderful clown book, coming of age, really, really worth your time. Going a different direction, we're going with a middle grade book that I read a couple of years ago, Spine Shivers. It's a Goosebumps knockoff series, but it's a modern one. And this is The Grin in the Dark. One of the creepiest middle grade books that I've ever read, honestly. It really actually creeped me out, and that says a lot. So this little kid goes to hang out with his aunt and uncle, and I think he's going to babysit his 2 little cousins, and his aunt is like into clowns. She collects clown dolls and this and that, and at one point he thinks one of the clown dolls moved, and more develops from there. You'll have to read it to see what I mean, but if you're looking for something quick and easy but also gives you clown vibes and has the clown content, this is it. This is definitely it. Another clown themed book, but also it takes place at a carnival. This is Cotton Candy Massacre, and I am hoping to read the second book, and I'm so excited because I love the first book. The first book, this book, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. This is by Christopher Robertson. We've got great clown characters. We've got the creepiest described cotton candy ever. It makes me sick to think about eating the cotton candy at this carnival. Well done, because I love cotton candy. So making it unappealing, that is a talent in itself, and Christopher Robertson, he really did a great job with that. But the setting's fantastic. I liked the teenage characters. I didn't mind them at all. Thought the action was marvelous. Yeah, I love everything about this book. It also had some humor and some fast-paced action. Here we go, yet another clown book, and this one is a winter set book, so if you read seasonally, don't pick it up for fall time, because you'll probably be put off very, very cold vibes. So there is a book, a vintage book called Dead White by Alan Ryan, and essentially the premise of that book and this book are very similar. These people get snowed into their small town, a train full of clowns arrive, and they start terrorizing said town. There's nothing the town can do about it because they're trapped, and it's a big snowstorm, no phone lines are working, etc., etc. Both books very similar premise. I have heard that that book by Alan Ryan is kind of slow, that it drops the ball, that the concept is cool, but the delivery doesn't land. This, however, if you're looking for a truly gory, gross book, this will fit the bill, because this has some of the grossest descriptions that I've ever read. The only criticism I have with this book, I believe it was a 4.5 for me, just a tiny bit too long. I truly think it's a great clown read. It's probably one of the scariest clown books and also the grossest clown books that you'll pick up. And if that's what you're looking for, yeah, give it a chance. Here we have Clown in a Cornfield. This series is very popular, so I know you've heard of it before. I will probably get some heat, but this is not my favorite Adam Caesar book. In fact, it's probably my least favorite Adam Caesar book. I much prefer some of his other books, like Tribesman or Video Night especially. This one is a YA book, and we do have a clown/clowns involved and some slashing involved, but it's just not my favorite. I guess I was expecting something a little bit more. I do think it brings the gore, but I love Adam Caesar. So if you're intrigued at all, I know lots of friends who love this. It's just not my favorite, and that's why I have not read the second book or the third book, which is about to come out or has just come out. Anyway, I do recommend checking it out and giving it a chance if you're at all intrigued. And I will say, if you're someone who's already read book 1 and book 2, or you're about to read book 2 so you could read book 3, my friend Amy over at the channel Amy McCaw, she's also an author, she's going to have a book club chat about the 3rd book in the series. So join in. She'll be having it at the end of September. So her September YA book club pick is Clown in a Cornfield 3. So if you're someone who's looking to read the 3rd one, join in with Amy, and some of my friends will be co-hosting, like Erin Megan and Katrina Brown and Elizabeth Sagewood, so I highly recommend you join in if you're wanting to read that book anyway. Just read this one last year, The Pilo Family Circus. Very weird book. We do have clown action in this. It's a very darkly humorous and also bleak tale. We've got this guy who goes into kind of like an alternate universe. He follows these mysterious clowns in this alternate universe, kind of, and he puts on face paint, and every time he puts on face paint, it's like he becomes a different person. And so more develops from there. This is so interesting, such a unique clown story and carnival story. Highly recommend, but again, it has kind of harsher language and harsher characters. It's not extreme, but it's just a little harsher. I really personally enjoyed it quite a bit, and I'll be reading the 2nd book, hopefully, in the series very soon. And last but not least, probably my favorite clown book is Clowns vs. Spiders by Jeff Strand. If you're looking for something light and fun, I have been touting this book for like 3 years. This book is amazing. This book is fantastic. So it's just a good time. You've got this group of clowns who work at a traditional circus. They get let go, and they have to succumb to working at a haunted house and actually play scary clowns. They are so appalled at having to do this because they do not believe in perpetuating the idea of clowns being scary. They want to uphold the clown image that clowns are fun, clowns are friendly. So they are so mortified that they have to go work at this haunted house and actually be scary. More develops, and of course clowns have to face off against spiders, so spiders do come into play down the line in the book. And that really makes for some fantastic action scenes and battle scenes, but this just had it all. Perfect 5-star read. If you like horror comedy books done right, Jeff Strand is a great author who I think is really good at writing comedy in books. It doesn't always come across in some books. Jeff Strand, always pretty good at it. And this, so far, out of all the books I've read by him, this is his best in terms of the comedy comes across so perfectly. It is fantastic. It would be great for any time. But if you're someone who's looking for a clown book, especially during fall time, this could be it for you. Especially a lighter one that's more fun, more zany. You don't take it seriously. It's not something that's going to scare you. It's more something that's going to make you laugh, smile, more something to have a good time with. Alright, last 2 books I've read out of this whole video. We will be talking about the books I have not read but are carnival themed, clown themed in just a minute, but here are 2 kind of more random books. Fantastic Land, one of the best audiobooks I've ever listened to. Highly recommend using the audio. We've got a group of people trapped in an amusement park after a hurricane hits Florida, and things devolve very quickly, factions form, and they start kind of battling with each other. And it's really weird how things devolve so quickly. There are a set of interviews in here. It's written like these different people from the different groups are telling the story of what happened in the amusement park and how things went so badly and why things maybe went so badly. And last but not least, we've got the troupe. This is more fantasy leaning, and it's about a traveling troupe, like a traveling set of performers. This one was super chunky, read it last year, did enjoy it, but like I said, I do think it was a little too long. However, it was very unique, and it was a worthwhile read. I'm really glad I read it. I ended up on a 4-star rating. I would look into the description a little further if this sounds intriguing to you. Alright, here we go. Tons of books I have not read. We've got 2 anthologies here. First one, Midnight Under the Big Top, Tales of Murder, Madness, and Magic, edited by Brian James Freeman. This was a special edition, I think, that was just released last year, I believe, by Cemetery Dance. Maybe a re-release, because I think it actually originally was published a while ago. It was published in 2020, but this edition came out in 2023 from Cemetery Dance. It's got short stories by a whole bunch of different people. Tananarive Due, Ray Bradbury, of course. Oh, we've got Stephen King, Joe Hill, Jeff Strand's in here. So lots of authors. Josh Mallerman's in here. So if you're looking for an anthology of Carnival Big Top stories, here you are. Here we have another collection of stories, Nightmare Carnival, and this is edited by Ellen Datlow.
A washed-up wrestler goes toe-to-toe with strange new foe. Young lad's 11th birthday heralds the arrival of his bizarre new entourage. A suicidal diva just can't seem to die. All these queer marvels and more can be found at the Nightmare Carnival.
And this collection was originally published in 2014. Now we're going to go into some amusement park books, so kind of similar to Carnival, but specifically it mentions amusement parks on the back of these books. Here we've got 3 Fear Street books. This is the Fear Park trilogy from Fear Street. And it was so sweet. My friend Kat from Kat's Novel Adventures gifted me these 3 books. Thank you so much, Kat. I'm really hoping to get to the first book for this year's Carnival readathon on my Patreon. We will see, but I'm so excited to dive into this little trilogy. Here we have another vintage YA trilogy, and this one is called The Forbidden Game, Volume 1, 2, and 3. I specifically wanted to check out this trilogy because the 3rd volume is set in a carnival. It's called The Kill. This series is by L.J. Smith. Another trilogy, Blood Moon. This one seems to take place at a amusement park. All of the covers feature an amusement park. And it says, maybe a job at Pine Lake was an offer Kate should have refused. This is by Connie Locks. Yeah, just take a look at them. Fortune teller. Really cool. Here we've got Monsterland by Michael Philip Cash. Looks like a lot of fun. Welcome to the new theme park, Monsterland, the scariest place on Earth. Here's a Stephen King book that's set around, I believe, an amusement park or carnival type of setting. And this is Joyland. I have not read it yet, but maybe one day. Not this year, but looking forward to this. My friend Kat also gifted me this copy. Thank you so much, Kat. Here we've got a book called Danger at the Fair. Love this cover so much. It should have been a time of fun and games, a day at the county fair. Instead, Ellen hears a warning from a fortune teller. The smaller one faces danger and sets out to find her little brother. So I think her little brother goes missing. Beware of the river of fear, so something must happen on this creepy river. Hell yeah! Here we've got The Beast by R.L. Stine.
The Beast was one awesome ride. My cousin Ashley and I had never been on anything like it, and then we heard about the ghost that was supposed to ride it at night after the park closed. A ghost on a roller coaster? Yeah, sure, I don't believe it, of course. Then one night after the park closed, we found ourselves on the Beast. Was I shocked when it started to move? But that was just the beginning, because you see, we weren't alone, and the guy with us wasn't exactly human!
Here we have Golden Land, Past Dark, and this is by Chandler Clang Smith. This one seems so good. I really want to read this very, very soon.
The circus arrives and no one notices. A hostile stranger is hunting Dr. Sho's ramshackle traveling circus across 1960s America. His target, the ringmaster himself. Struggling to elude the menace, Dr. Sho scraps his ambitious itinerary, ticket sales plummet, and nothing but disaster looms. The troops' unraveling hopes fall on their latest and most promising recruit, Webern Bell, a 16-year-old stunted hunchback devoted obsessively to perfecting the surreal clown performances that come to him in his dreams.
So there's more, but sounds so good. Here we have 2 wonderful graphic novels that my friend Andrew from It Came Over the Page gifted me. Thank you so much, Andrew. He said he really thinks I would like this. This is Dark Ride, and it is a graphic novel series that takes place in this creepy, scary amusement park.
Welcome to the scariest place on Earth. Devilland has been the world's premier horror-themed amusement park for over 50 years, home to the scariest ride ever created, the Devil's Due.
So there's more, but I'm very excited! Alright, some clown books. These I have not read. This one is a collection of stories, and it just features a clown on the cover, so I will show you up close. Sorry about the glare because of the bag it's in, but this is a collection of stories by Charles L. Grant. It probably doesn't really feature much about a clown, but I really do love this cover. Here we have The Mime by Tony Profumo.
Was she possessed by Eros or by Satan? A novel with the horror of Helter Skelter and the terror of The Exorcist.
Here we've got A Lower Deep by Tom Piccarelli. I recently read a book by Tom Piccarelli and freaking loved it. I Loved it. It was 5 stars. It was called A Choir of Ill Children. Very strange, very weird. That actually does feature a kind of a carnival, but it's barely in the story, and it's at the very end. But there's this whole looming suggestion of a carnival throughout the book, and so I thought that was fun. But yes, here's a book where we have a clown on the cover, and my friend Crystal from the channel Fiber Artsy did read this. She did enjoy it, and she did say, you do get this guy on the cover in the book. So I am like very excited about that.
A man known only as the Necromancer and his demonic familiar named Self wander the spectral highways of the countryside, incurring the wrath of both heaven and hell and facing the curses of the damned.
And there's more description, but I don't want to read too much into it. It just seems fantastic. Here we have another collection. This is edited by Roger Anker, and it is a tribute to the works of Charles Beaumont. It's The Howling Man. I love this cover so much. It's one of the best clown covers that I own. Here we've got a modern book, and this is an extreme horror book, Brian's Birthday Bloodbath, and this is by Brian G. Berry. I have read a few books by Brian G. Berry. They're always fun. Not for everybody, a little bit extreme. But I had to pick this one up because it had a clown on it. I usually don't buy physical books of his books, but because they're always on Kindle, but this one, I was like, yes, clown, sign me up! Then finally we've got 2 editions featuring the same story. We've got Birthday Cake and I Scream. I just found this out in the wild, was so happy to find this. Apparently, I think my friend Cameron said Spine Chillers is a kind of Christian Goosebumps knockoff. So here's a collection of Spine Chiller stories, and it does feature Dr. Shiver's Carnival, as well as Birthday Cake and I Scream, as well as Attack of the Killer House, which I don't think is Carnival themed, but the Dr. Shiver's Carnival is, and so is the Birthday Cake and I Scream, which you see this edition here. I also have another edition of Dr. Shiver's Carnival, which I'll show you. And here is the other edition that I own of the Spine Chiller's Dr. Shiver's Carnival. So maybe one day I'll get to these. Pandora Drive. My friend Alex sweetly sent me this book. Thank you so much, Alex. I love you. She's over at the channel The Bookubus. Check out her channel. She knows I love a good carnival setting, so thank you for sending it my way. It really means a lot. This is Pandora Drive by Tim Wagner. I've heard good things about Tim Wagner's work. I'm excited to check it out. Here we've got Dark Tide by Elizabeth Forrest. One of those big, scary, colorful adventure stories. The real stuff, a real pleasure, says Dean Koontz, blurbed on the front. Here we have got a fantastic Charles L. Grant cover, The Black Carousel. Look at this cover! It's amazing.
Night. The carnival grounds are empty, or are they?
Here we've got a William W. Johnstone book called Carnival. I assume it takes place at a carnival. Yes.
Locals were ecstatic when the carnival pulled into Nebraska. They shrieked in delight on the lightning-fast rides. They gasped in shocked fascination at the chilling collection of freaks and human oddities, but all the while piercing red eyes glared out at the townies from the shadows of the Midway.
So, honestly, I don't know if I'm going to read this anytime soon, but I had to have it because of the cover, also because of the carnival setting. Who knows? Maybe Johnstone will deliver a wacky, crazy, zany good time, or it could be a dud. We will see. Another one of my favorite covers that I own, Destiny's Carnival by Warren Murphy. And
the carnival is the only life that enchanting Alyssa has ever known. Only the sinister freaks and her own terrified father know what lies in store on her 21st birthday, though.
Maybe a claw comes out of her head. Yeah! Next up, we've got The Freak Show by Brian Smith. And let's see. The Flaherty Brothers Traveling Carnival and Freak Show has rolled into Pleasant Hills, Tennessee. Quiet Little Town will never be the same. And this was published in, let's see, originally in 2007. But I hear it does have a vintage horror vibe. Another carnival book. This is The Fun House by Dean Koontz. I actually heard the book's not very good. My friend Andrew told me that, so I don't know, but I do love owning it. I like the step back art. Pretty cool. Not sure if this has anything to do with an actual carnival, but I believe my friend Andrew gave me this. It is a long arm book, and it's called Long Arm and the Carnival Killer.
There's a rampaging gunman on the loose. The carnival folk call him Kid Clang, but the Ogden sheriff calls him a murderer.
Another fantastic cover, we've got Dark Journey by A.R. Moreland, and this says Carnival of Horrors on the back. Here we have Totentants by Al Serantonio.
Come to the carnival and join the dance of death.
Here's kind of a men's adventure novel, it sounds like. This is actually my dad's, and I was like, can I bring this to my house? Because I love this cover. And he's like, I guess, I really like that book.
CIA mission behind the big top. When circus aerialist and mentalist Bruno Wilderman is recruited by the CIA for a mission that only someone of his incredible talents could undertake, he is aware that he holds the key to the world's survival in his hands.
I don't know, this dude doesn't look very capable. He's fallen off the frickin' high wire. That's him falling, by the way, in case you were wondering what that noise was. Here we've got a new edition of this book, Blind Voices, by Tom Reamy. This was released by Valancourt Books. I love the cover. I saw it on their Instagram feed, and I was like, I must have it. This does take place during the summer, just so you know. It's apparently an underground classic of horror and dark fantasy. I did forget that I read this book. It does have a merry-go-round featured in the story. This is Welcome to the Tarot-Go-Round, and it has time travel involved in it. It is a lot of fun. I read this back in April of this year, and I think I gave it a 3.5. Here we've got another vintage middle grade book. This is a choose your own adventure. You're the star of the story, The Circus, and it's got wonderful illustrations inside. Let me show you. Like the first page, it asks you what you would be. And it's got these fantastic illustrations. I would be a clown, I think. And then you pick your path from there. So fun! I love it. And this was, by the way, originally published in... let's look. 1981, this edition. Alright. And I did want to show you this cool little cover page with the clowns and the little car. Another vintage middle grade book. We've got a Spine Tinglers book, Circus Freaks. A book I literally just found about a weekend ago. This is a Buffy book, and it's an original Buffy novel, you know, set in the Buffy universe though. Carnival of Souls by Nancy Holder. I had a whole bunch of Buffy books kindly gifted to me by Amy McCaw, but I did not have this one, so I'm so excited to own this and that it's Carnival themed. Another book I did haul just this month. I actually released a recent book haul where I showed this off. This is a vintage YA series, and the series is called The Power, and this one takes place at a really cool amusement park, and this is the Catacombs. Last but not least, because I love this freaking cover, this is The Demon.
Horror in the flesh. Someone has moved back into the quiet little town of Beckskill, New York. His name is Vernon Sweet, and he is an ex-sideshow geek. He was once known to the carnival crowds as Groggo the Goblin, but here he is only a joke, a freak, a hideous obscenity, living with his mysterious guardian in a dilapidated house on the outskirts of town. Vernon Sweet is an abomination of nature, still there is something irresistible about him. He has an aura, a strange charisma that seems to suck you in. No one can explain the shocking series of murders or the bizarre visions that now haunt the dark woods surrounding the town, but one thing is certain: an unspeakable evil has found its way to Beckskill, and it has taken the most horrifying form of all.
I know, talking about freak shows, not a thing we do today, but this isn't a vintage book, so excuse me, but I really like the sound of the story. It could be intriguing, could have problematic elements, I'm sure, but I would just have to read it to really know and see how they talked about things and if it had like a moral to the story and this and that. Phew! Okay, there you have it. I know it was a lot of books, but I was so excited to show off my freaking collection of clown, carnival, amusement park, circus books for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed. all of the books. Have you guys read any of these books? Please let me know down below if you have read and enjoyed any of these, because it's going to put it higher up on my priority list if it's a book that I have not yet read. So, have you read any of the books I did say I read? What did you think about them, if so? Also, are there any other Carnival books that I have not shown that you think I should buy? Tell me, tell me, tell me. Also, a clown book. Don't forget clowns. I love clowns. Or Circus, but yes, Carnival number 1, Clowns number 2, Circus number 3. That's the order of how much I like each. Also quickly, I did forget to mention that I did read and I do own Funland by Richard Laymon. It's not my favorite Richard Laymon book, but I can't find it, and I don't know why. There's a great character called Poppin' Sack, or Poppin'... It's funny, I accidentally said Poppin' Balls one time when I was talking about vintage horror and that book, but I think it's Poppin' Sack. He's a gross character, he's ridiculous, but very Carnival-like name. The book definitely has some weird stuff in it, but I think people who already like Richard Laymon would definitely like Funland. I just didn't love it for some reason, but I do own it. It has a clown on the cover. I don't know where it is. I would love a special edition of that book, but I gotta find where I put my original copy for one. It's kind of a newer edition anyway, but I'd love like a really cool special copy of that one because of the setting of the book is still really cool. Alright guys, though, that is it for me. That is truly it. Those were all my books. Let me know anything you want down below. If you don't have anything you want to comment, like I said before, or any thoughts on the books I showed, then you could just leave, of course, a little clown emoji. Because, you know, clowns, amusement parks, I really appreciate you guys' time watching long videos like this. It truly means a lot to me. Till next time, guys, you know what you can do. Keep on killing it. Bye, guys.